think a lot of people are mentally exhausted without even realizing how connected that is to constant consumption and scrolling. This is Built for Love, where we explore self-awareness, growth, and real transformation. Because love isn't something we chase, it's something we're built for.
Welcome to The Pulse, Built for Love's awareness episode, where we break down each month the top stories of news, entertainment, and health and wellness.
Each month, we take a step back and look at what's been happening. Because awareness and growth go hand in hand, and the more aware we are, the more intentional we can be. But before we dive into our topics, let's take a pulse check for the month of May. Eddie, what's our quick stat for this month?
So this was published by Euronews and the New York Post. It says a growing number of teenagers are trading smartphones for flip phones and basic dumb phones. Many say they're tired of nonstop notifications and social media pressures of spending hours online. And some call it a digital detox, but I also think that it's because they're liking this retro sort of the retro phone, and that sort of like Y2K kind of has become very trendy on TikTok.
Right.
So I think part of it is aesthetic, but I think a huge part of it is very telltale of how younger people are starting to kind of get fed up with all this social media being bombarded 24 hours a day.
Wow, that's okay. So I definitely Y2K, like that era, early 2000s, it is back. I mean,
For sure.
in fashion, in music, it's here. So it makes me think that maybe it's more aligned with that than, I don't know. It feels a little too good to be true. But if it is, I mean, the power to them, because I feel like, I mean, not that I feel like, you guys, this information goes hand in hand with our health and wellness topic for today. But before we get there, let's dive into some of the top news stories for the month of May. Eddie, hit us with the first one.
So in news, we have the Alex Murdaugh trial. So here's what happened. In a shocking twist, the South Carolina Supreme Court overturned Alex Murdaugh's murder conviction and ordered a brand new trial. Murdaugh was originally convicted back in 2023 for murdering his wife and his son Paul at their family hunting estate back in 2021. Becoming one of the biggest true crime obsessions in America. There was a Netflix documentary that went viral back in 2023. So here's the why. So Colleton County Clerk of Court, her name is Rebecca Hill, was improperly influencing the jurors during the original trial by advising them not to believe the Murdaugh's testimony and pressuring them to reach a quick verdict. So in a quick sort of like what her job description is as county clerk is that she is to maintain the administrative court operations and to maintain maintain the public records, and they serve as a neutral officer, ensuring that there's like a smooth process of the judicial process. They're not supposed to influence. They're not even supposed to interact with the jury. So the fact that she was doing some of these things, some of the following things, was really a big no-no. One juror said that when the jury began deliberating, Hill told the jury, quote, "This shouldn't take us long," end quote. Another juror justified that Hill told them on the day that Murdaugh was testifying that it was, quote, "an epic day," end quote, and to look at his body language. So definitely influencing them. So the wild part, though, is that Murdaugh is still going to prison, though, because although his conviction for murder was tossed, he's still serving decades behind bars for massive financial crimes, including stealing millions from clients, from his own law firm, and from multiple settlements from victims. The South Carolina prosecutors have already confirmed that they plan to retrial him for murder. But legal analysts say that the retrial could look very different the second time around because the defense now knows the prosecution's full strategy. So the takeaway from all this is this case went from a closed chapter to completely reopening overnight. Even people who believe Murdaugh was guilty are now debating whether the trial itself is compromised. So America is about to relive the entire saga all over again.
All right. Well, let's talk about the virus headlines that had everybody spiraling this month. Because May said, oh, you thought allergy season was enough? Nope. First up, the Ebola outbreak in Congo and Uganda continued escalating throughout May. On May 17th, the World Health Organization reported 246 suspected cases and 80 suspected deaths. By late May, that number had grown to more than 900 suspected cases and more than 220 suspected deaths connected to a rare strain of Ebola that currently has no approved vaccine. And yeah, that's the part people are really paying attention to. The CDC says the immediate risk to the general US public is still pretty low, but health officials have increased traveler monitoring and public health screenings as concern continues growing globally. Then there's Hantavirus, specifically an Andes virus cluster linked to the MV Hondias cruise ship. As of mid May, the World Health Organization reported 11 cases, including 3 deaths, with the global public risk assessed as low. Hantavirus spreads mainly through infected rodent droppings, urine, and saliva, and while it's rare, it can also turn deadly very quickly. Once symptoms hit the lungs, it's over. Which is exactly why people online immediately started spiraling. And honestly, I think what makes all of this feel heavier now is how fast fear spreads online. One headline becomes 20 TikToks. Suddenly, everybody thinks their seasonal allergies are the beginning of a medical documentary. And your group chat turns into an unofficial CDC panel discussion. But health experts are reminding people not to panic, stay informed through credible updates, wash your hands, and maybe don't take medical advice from TikTok comments and a ring light.
Moving on to the White House shooting. So here's what happened, guys. A gunman opened fire near a Secret Service checkpoint outside of the White House on Saturday evening. Secret Service agents returned fire and killed a suspect during the exchange. The shooting happened near 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. President Trump was reportedly inside of the White House at the time, but was unharmed. But a bystander was struck during the chaos. The suspect authorities have identified as a 21-year-old Nasir Best. He had reported previous encounters with Secret Services and law enforcement. So court records show he had allegedly tried to enter the White House before, and in a prior incident, reports say that he claimed to be Jesus Christ. He was later ordered to stay away from the complex. The larger concern here, though, is that this was reportedly the third gun-related security scare in relation to the White House in 1 month, well, in about a month. This reignites conversations about political violence and presidential security, especially with this administration. The takeaway for me is what made this event especially intense, I think, was how public it became in real time. So you had reporters out casually outside of the White House and suddenly diving for cover in a panic. I can't help but to think, why does it feel like security scares involving political figures are becoming increasingly more normalized in America? It's scary.
It is. But let's move on to our final topic in news. So let's talk about Shein, because apparently fast fashion said, why create a trend when you can allegedly screenshot it? Recently, Shein was back in the headlines after Australian brand Sabo Skirt accused Shein, Kmart, and other retailers of copying its designs, prints, and patterns, then selling similar pieces at lower prices. And this is not Shein's first time at the copying rodeo. I mean, come on, over the years, the company has faced accusations from independent artists, lawsuits from major brands like H&M and Uniqlo, and even pushback from Mexico's culture ministry. And as a Mexican myself, that Mexico story hits a little different. Back in 2022, Mexico questioned Shein over a design that looks similar to traditional Mayan embroidery. And those designs are not just cute patterns, they carry generations of culture, symbolism, history, and craftsmanship. Now, to be clear, this isn't about shaming people who shop there, right? Everybody loves a good deal. I get it. We've all seen a $9 shirt and heard our budget whisper, add to cart. But the bigger conversation is this: when cultural designs, small designers, and independent artists get copied without credit or payment, cheap fashion starts costing somebody else. And with newer lawsuits accusing Shein of using AI and algorithms to track and copy popular designs online, the question becomes, are we watching fashion move faster, or are we watching creativity get stolen in real time? Now, let's shift gears into our entertainment news. Eddie?
So for entertainment, here we have Stephen Colbert versus the CBS public access drama. So guys, here's what happened. Just one day after ending The Late Show, Stephen Colbert surprised fans by appearing on a tiny Michigan public access show. It's called Only in Monroe. Fans immediately saw it, and they saw it as a symbolic gesture, like he was returning to his roots outside of corporate TV. He famously visited this program back in 2015, right before he launched the Late Show. But it was nostalgic. It was slightly weird and like low budget and intentionally symbolic, in my opinion. But here's why it blew up. The episode featured chaotic local access, energy, and celeb cameos and jokes aimed directly at CBS and Paramount. His biggest viral line was, quote, before they also get acquired by Paramount, end quote. This being a jab at the fact that Paramount merged with Skydance, which is arguably the reason, or rather the catalyst for the Late Show being canceled. In my opinion, CBS just made it worse. When clips began going viral, CBS sent out DMCA copyright takedown notices against unofficial uploads. And legally, CBS did appear to own slash having co-produced the episode because they later said that they financed it. But the optics were just terrible. Because to the public, it appeared like CBS canceled Colbert. Colbert returned in a rebellious fashion, and then CBS tried to scrub the internet of those clips. It seemed like censorship and retaliation almost. I think the larger combo is the takedown that they tried to do, or the takedown itself, fed these existing theories that the network wanted Colbert gone for reasons beyond just money and ratings, which is what they initially had said. For me, what comes to mind with all this is, did CBS kind of like low key accidentally turn Colbert into this anti-corporate like folk hero? I think so. I'm just a big fan of Colbert. But yeah, I think they really tried to do a big one, CBS, but I think it just shot themselves in the foot with this.
Let's move on to the Met Gala, which happened on May 4th, aka the one night celebrities collectively said, Recession? Never heard of her. This year's theme was Fashion is Art, which basically gave celebrities permission to go full theatrical. And honestly, some of them ate. Bad Bunny, Heidi Klum, Doja Cat, Cardi B, Coleman Domingo, Sabrina Carpenter, like, these people came ready for battle. One of the biggest moments of the night was Beyonce making her big Met Gala comeback after years away, alongside Blue Ivy, and the internet immediately lost its mind. The second Beyonce hit those stairs, social media basically clocked out for the evening. Everybody suddenly became a fashion expert and a Beyonce correspondent all at the same time. Rihanna also arrived fashionably late, as tradition requires, in a sculptural metallic Maison Margiela look with over 115,000 crystals because somehow she keeps out Rihanna-ing herself every year. Zendaya also had people gagged per usual because at this point she doesn't attend the Met Gala, guys. She conquers it. Meanwhile, fashion people were screaming over references to black tailoring, vintage glamour, and art history, while the rest of us were trying to figure out whether some of these looks were couture or rejected Hunger Games capital outfits. And let's be honest, guys, for a few celebrities, the theme was nowhere to be found. Like, babe, this is the Met Gala, not a corporate networking event. Why are we giving Men's Warehouse with a slightly shinier button? On another note, tickets reportedly hit about $100,000 this year, so yeah, your little $14 cocktail at brunch suddenly feels a little humble, doesn't it? But overall, the Met Gala once again proved that no one does extra quite like celebrities on the first Monday in May.
And fashion adjacent news, right? We have Drake reportedly buying Michael Jackson's glove. So here's what happened. Drake reportedly bought Michael Jackson's iconic crystal glove for allegedly $123,000. Guys, he posted with the glove on his Iceman album cover. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Fans noticed the glove was the same as the Swarovski crystal gloves that Michael Jackson would wear during his 1984 victory tour. Drake first showed the glove back in 2023 after tying with MJ for the most Billboard Hot 100 #1 songs by a male solo artist. I think to me the takeaway is that this story is more than just about a glove. It's about symbolism, right? Drake is using one of pop culture's most recognizable artifacts to visually place himself in a conversation about fame and legacy and immortality. But I don't know. What do we think? Do we see Drake as his cultural legacy? like this might suggest, or is he just like a chart topper for some of us? So I don't know. Yeah, that was pretty. That was kind of bold.
Speaking of music and entertainment news, our final topic is the American Music Awards, which happened on May 25th. And honestly, the entire night felt like a chaotic but beautiful millennial fever dream. The night was hosted by Queen Latifah, which already gave it legacy energy. But the biggest story, BTS came back and basically said, "Cause I'm in the stars tonight." And the AMA said, "Correct, here's every award." They won Artist of the Year, Song of the Summer, and Best Male K-pop Artist, proving once again that ARMY does not play about their boys. And in general, K-pop really had a night. Cat's Eye won New Artist of the Year, and Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters once again had their moment, winning Song of the Year. So yes, the K-pop takeover is not coming, y'all. It's already here. Then the AMA said, "Let's unlock your 2000s memory card." There's that Y2K again. The Pussycat Dolls reunited with Busta Rhymes, Fergie popped back up with the Black Eyed Peas, and New Kids on the Block hit the stage too. At that point, my inner child was confused, excited, and checking if my sidekick still worked. But for me personally, Carol G, La Bichota herself, had one of the biggest moments of the night. She received the International Artist Award of Excellence, becoming the first Latina artist to ever receive that honor, while also taking home Best Latin Album. As a Latino myself, seeing Carol G continue breaking barriers globally while staying rooted in our culture just hits different, you know? La Bichota basically came to let everybody know we're not your little side category anymore. We are the main event. Fashion wise, Hilary Duff showed up in silver after 21 years away from the AMAs, basically reminding everyone that Y2K never died, it just got better lighting. Overall, the AMAs were giving comeback, nostalgia, and global takeover. And all of that really brings us here because beyond everything happening around us, there's also what people are experiencing internally. So let's get into our health and wellness focus for this month, digital overstimulation.
So, 5 sources and 5 facts, if you will, that I found on digital overstimulation, which I found were really, really interesting because I think they're things that we all do on a daily basis, but we have been so desensitized that they're kind of like no big deal. But when we look at it in retrospect to this, it can really affect us when it comes to overstimulation, right? Um, Number one is that people check their phones consistently, which research says is shortening attention spans and it's increasing mental fatigue. That's from a PNAS Nexus study. Also, short form apps like TikTok, Reels, Shorts, they they condition the brain to crave nonstop stimulation and fast reward. That was from a short form video mental health review. Also in 2025, a couple years ago, a study found that cutting mobile internet access for only 2 weeks improved focus and sleep and mental health for most participants. That was from a mobile internet and well-being study. I thought 2 weeks was insane because it seems like a long time, but it really isn't. You know, people go on vacation for two
Right.
weeks. You know what I mean? Also, the World Health Organization warns that nonstop digital engagement can worsen anxiety and burnout and insomnia and depression, particularly in young people. That's coming straight from the WHO, guys. And lastly, experts say that constant notification and multitasking are reducing people's tolerance for silence and deep focus. And they said boredom. That was from the Human Clarity Institute report. I thought it was really interesting that these notifications and multitasking in this way because of this digital format and this digital overstimulation, it's reducing people's tolerance for boredom. I thought, I think we're used to having this notion that boredom is a bad thing and we never want to be bored. And I remember being younger and being bored because I had nothing to do. I don't think I can remember the last time, at least personally, where I was, I guess, just naturally bored. I think because we always have that stimuli in front of us in the form of this digital feed that we're all sort of glued to in a sense.
I think a lot of people are mentally exhausted without even realizing how connected that is to constant consumption and scrolling. Our nervous systems were never meant to absorb this much information all day long. So, here are 5 simple ways to help reduce digital overstimulation. Number one is curating your social media feed intentionally. What we consume emotionally matters just as much as what we consume physically. If your feed is constantly filled with fighting videos, rage bait, graphic content, negativity, or things that make your nervous system tense up, your brain absorbs that energy whether you realize it or not. Most social media apps now allow you to hit options like not interested, see less, or hide this content. Use them. Curating your feed is not being sensitive, it's protecting your peace. Your algorithm learns from what you engage with it, so teach it what you want more of and what you want less of.
Yeah, definitely. I pride myself in having um, a uh, a TikTok feed that's so curated to me. I've had friends be like, "I'm just gonna give you my phone for like an hour, so you can like really curate my feed because I get all kinds of crazy stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, like same though, but I have to instead of just scrolling past something that, and this might sound kind of, lame and kind of sensitive, but if it's something that isn't really that doesn't sit well with me and it doesn't feel right, and I just get uncomfortable watching it, or it's not really like feeding me like on an emotional or like even like a spiritual level. I instead of just scrolling past it, I take the time to hit not interested, and I pick a reason why and I send it off, and it really does minimize the kind of content that I don't want on my feed. And I think it's a
Right.
really helpful tool. It's kind of like a duh, like yeah, of course it has that feature, but how many people are actually using it? I
Right.
I use it, and I'm really thankful that I do because my feed would be full of a bunch of crazy stuff if I didn't, you know?
I mean, not for nothing, sometimes I do forget that it's there. So you don't
Yeah,
need to be more
yeah.
like you. But yes, like for sure. This is your reminder, everyone listening. You have those options. Use them, use them, use them. So the second one is creating screen-free mornings. So I honestly think one of the most powerful things people can do right now is stop letting their phones become the first voice, the first thing they see every morning. Before you touch your phone, give yourself space to actually arrive into your day. Stretch, breathe, pray, meditate, journal, sit with gratitude, open a window. Let's let our nervous systems wake up naturally before immediately absorbing notifications, news, stress, comparisons, and everybody else's energy, right? The way
Mm.
you start your morning, remember this, sets the emotional tone for your day. Now, that being said, the third way of navigating this is creating screen free nights. So, a lot of people are overstimulating their brains right before sleep and then wondering why their nervous systems never fully relax. So, creating a screen free night routine, even for 30 minutes before bed, can help your brain slow down. You can read, you can shower, you can reflect, pray, listen to calming music, talk to somebody that you love. This is a time to let your body feel safe enough to rest instead of staying emotionally activated until midnight or whatever time you're going to bed.
I remember a couple years back before I moved to New York City, I was living in Seattle and I had packed up my apartment. I had packed up my television. I had packed up, my table. So my apartment was sort of slowly kind of like being packed up, and I didn't have many things in front of me. And what I would do is, a book is easy to have, and I would read before I would go to bed, because didn't have my screen available to me because I'd already packed it up. And I remember reading, and it felt so cool in a really crazy way. Like many times I fell asleep reading a book, and I woke up feeling one a little better than. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I'm like better than most people because I can fall asleep to a book. This feels so cool, right? Like, there's kind of bragging rights that come with it, is what I
Bringing
mean,
back
right?
Y2K, bringing back Y2K.
There's a little bit of like a bragging right. I can be like, oh, I totally fell asleep in a book last night. But aside from it being like a cringy, braggy thing to say, mentally, I woke up and I was like, yo, like my eyes aren't tired. I wasn't thinking about what I was scrolling about. I wasn't thinking about waking up and seeing if I could find that post again or read that article. Do you know what I mean? Like I had
Right.
just fall asleep with what was literally just the words that I was reading. So I super highly recommend that.
So let's move on to the fourth one, which is relearning how to be present. A lot of people are physically somewhere, but mentally somewhere else because we've trained ourselves to constantly consume while living. We scroll while eating, we scroll while watching TV, we scroll while talking to people, scroll while resting. Presence is becoming a lost skill, right? Being present. And sometimes healing looks like putting your phone down long enough to fully experience your actual life again. So that also leads me to the fifth and final, which is giving your nervous system moments of silence. A lot of people don't realize how overstimulated they are until they finally sit in silence and their brain immediately reaches for distraction, right? Constant noise keeps the nervous system activated. So small amounts of quiet throughout the day, even 5 minutes, guys, can help regulate stress, anxiety, focus, and emotional overwhelm. Remember that silence is not emptiness, it's not boring. Sometimes it is recovery. And these days, we can take it where we can get it.
Absolutely. I think there's so much talking going on, but so little like communicating, and I know it sounds kind of eye
Yeah.
rolly, but I think that when we learn to tell social media when we want to access it instead of the other way around, things change. Like I have all my notifications. The only notifications I get on my phone are the news outlets that I subscribe to and my like texts and phone calls. Anything from social media, anything from like WhatsApp, anything from TikTok, Instagram, I have silenced all those notifications. So I don't respond to them until I'm ready to log on and actually go through my DMs and actually respond. And that's been a game changer for me.
Yeah, that also makes me think of the feature, like I don't know if it's literally called time limiting, but like
Yeah,
every phone and even apps now have where you can limit how long you're able to be on that app. So let's just say your social media apps you put for like 2 hours a day. You'd be surprised that like 2 hours will kind of run out faster than you would think because you're used to being
a
on it
hundred
for
percent.
way longer. So start with something like that. These tools are there to support you guys. This is a perfect conversation, a perfect reminder to you that your screen is one of the biggest reasons that you're overstimulated, but we're here to let you know that it is. And it's proven, and there are facts and statistics out there. We shared some here on the show. All that to say, thank you guys for spending this time with us. Don't forget to follow, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and give the podcast a 5-star rating because it truly helps us grow and continue creating these conversations for you guys.
And we'll see you next month on another episode of The Pulse.